Indonesia is departure to the polls on April 17 for president and national elections. The president campaigning has been mostly fought above jobs and the economics versus a background of growing nationalism. CEO Joko Widodo, who is searching de-election, has embarked on an aspiring infrastructure facilities shove. To do it, he has welcomed China invest and recognized loans and partnerships in overseas companies. His competing, ex-war general Prabowo Subianto, has charged the CEO of marketing out the nation to foreigners, and opposition lawmakers are pretending Indonesia is cladding an inflow of China workers. A length and sometimes forcible story of against Chinese mood tool. These are controversial issues, particularly in an poll year. Public print is star in Indonesia, and in the conduct up to the Voice it has been flooded in rumors above growing numbers of China workers in the nation. But which does the information show? We've undertaken a see in the figures over China's increasing part in Indonesia. In January the year, a live video show thousands of workers deprecating at an industry garden in Morowali on the Isle of Sulawesi was wide share on public print. The live video declared how these were Indonesia workers showing versus China migrants who were making high salaries and take regional jobs. Some wide share public print posts include shown images of China tourists at airports in worrisome captions pretending them to be illicit workers flood in the nation. And recent monthly, a steel producer in Java was constrained to explain how lot China citizens they involved following a live video pretending to show overseas workers outgoing the plant while virus. On the campaigning path, Mr. Prabowo hasn't immediately called to China workers but has undertaken aim at the CEO's changes to overseas employee regulation, that aim to rate up the trial of overseas employee applications to Indonesia. He has told, "We are not against foreigner but we requirement to get thoroughness of our own human beings, if we outdoor our doorway to overseas workers, later which is leftward for us." Mr. Prabowo has as well offered how Indonesia could find out of some countries. This joint state wants to do aside to hold them of. In Australia, human beings who try to come are shipped to remotely islands, he told for a speaking front of the campaigning. China is Indonesia's tertiary greatest resource of overseas straight invest over Singapore and Japan, onto the Indonesia by the government agent controlling invest. These figures show China firms include nested nearly $10 billion, in Indonesia with 2014. Several of these big China-backed projects include run in severe difficult situation. A $6 billion draft to construct top-speed boat train among Jakarta and the near town, Bandung, has been tortured by intermittent. In polar Sumatra, environmentalists are fight in the courts to halt a hydropower dam backed by the Banking of China, how they say threatens to wipe away out a crucially vanishing kind of orang. Time on the Isle of Borneo, a China country-owned business is set to construct hydropower seedling cost nearly $18 billion. Indonesia hopes to draw $60 billion in invest of China, but it is hardly to get how lot, says Feng Su, an Asia expert at the political economist Intellect Block. These China-backed projects frequently search to use China labor as a way to cut expenses and growth effectiveness. Quantity of permits given to overseas workers. The largest exact way of measurement the quantity of recorded overseas workers in Indonesia is to see at the quantity of permits given. China receives the largest overseas employee permits and the numbers are growing, duplicating with 2013. But the full affair above 30,000 given in 2018 is significantly less than rather than the millions declared by several. The Planet Banking estimates how common, overseas workers done up a faction, fair percent, of Indonesia's labor in 2016, considerably less than rather than Singapore, Malaysia and Thailand. Yet, down there may so be lot more than China workers in Indonesia rather than the formal coincide of job permits suggests, though it's hard to aware how lot. The Confederation of Indonesia Workers Association, KSPI, claims cheap skilled China workers are upcoming in on visitor visas in their hundreds of thousands. By the government as well, says Indonesia workers gain of the learning they get of the very qualified China labor, who ultimately back household outgoing the regional teams to get above. So, time the accessible information shows overseas workers of China and in another place do up a faction of the full labor in Indonesia, the question remnant a separating and emotion a, readily mixed up for elections.